Welcome to the Somatic Coaching Academy podcast with Ani and Brian. Join us as we explore the art and science of trauma-sensitive somatic practices and tools to strengthen your practice as a coach, therapist, or holistic professional. Master the art of motivating even the most challenging clients when you'll understand how to tap into and unlock your client's complete holistic intelligence. If you want to learn the most cutting-edge, research-supported skills for personal and professional mastery, you've come to the right place. Let's get this conversation started.
Hi, and welcome to the Somatic Coaching Academy podcast. This is episode 17, and we're talking about secrets this week. Hey there, Brian.
Hey, Ani, how are you?
I'm really good. I heard you have a secret to tell me.
We do have a secret today. We're going to talk about the secret to successfully applying the natural laws in your own life.
I got to tell you, I want to shout from the rooftops about the natural laws and how they apply to, I want to say feeling like a success, to feeling like a success. Maybe it's just the fact that I have so much energy from that week off of rejuvenation. Oh, man, I just feel super rejuvenated from having last week off.
Yeah.
Did you see the episode from last week yet? I haven't seen it yet.
I caught a little clip of it.
How'd
our stand-ins.
How'd they do? How'd our substitutes do?
It seemed like they did a pretty good job to me.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm so looking forward to listening to the episode and watching the episode. Actually, one of our students told me that it's better on YouTube, so I think I'll watch it.
Okay, yeah. And if you haven't checked out that episode, it's the art and science of setting healthy boundaries. That was last week.
Yeah.
But this week is the secret to successfully applying the natural laws in your life. We love natural laws.
We do, and we incorporate it into everything that we do.
We teach it with our private clients. We work in natural laws, our private group programs, absolutely all of our certification programs. We even include natural laws in there as well.
I think it's one of the things we're asked about the most.
Yep.
And I got to just personal note this for a second for myself. One of the things that I've really loved about not just learning, but embodying the natural laws, Brian, not only have I been more successful in my personal life, with my partner, with my family, in my business, not only has my health been better, I think one of the major benefits that's really, really been outstanding is my ability to not take myself so seriously and have a much more fun time in life, kind of like got the stick out of my ass kind of thing, right? Like not take myself so seriously, not have to feel like I'm in control or like life is controlling me. And so just back to our art and science episode, like doing things like that and being able to have fun in life and enjoy and be in joy has been a serious personal practice for me for years. And it's the natural laws has been a major learning as I've really learned to integrate them in my life to be able to not take myself so seriously and enjoy my life.
Yeah. Natural laws have been a really amazing study. And I think both of us in a lot of ways were studying the natural laws before we realized we are studying something called the natural laws, 100%. Right?
100%.
Because they're woven into so many different spirituality practices, religious denominations and understandings, and natural laws. You'll see them sprinkled through teachings on Buddhism and Taoism and Christianity. And all the major religions have their expressions, the way they talk about natural laws.
So for you, what were the ways in which the natural laws were sprinkled in before you really started learning them as the natural laws?
I think really for me, primarily learning through some Chinese medicine stuff. Traditional Chinese medicine is a big part of my background in professional learning and professional learning outside of allopathic Western learning. Traditional Chinese medicine is kind of what I've weaved in a lot. And so along with traditional Chinese medicine, you're practicing things like Qigong and Tai Chi, and also as a part of that Taoism. So Taoism is not a religion, by the way, right? Taoism is a philosophy. There's no deity or God associated with Taoism. but at its heart and core, Taoism is a study of nature. So the ancient Taoist masters would study how nature worked. How did water behave? How did wind behave? How did trees and sun and the cycle of the seasons, how did all that stuff work? And kind of the idea with Taoism is if we can model our own lives after the way that nature works, then our lives become more easeful.
Yeah.
And so that's really kind of what I was practicing, the idea, before I realized, oh, wait, so someone else has kind of taken the natural laws and started to put them into a different way to organize and think about them from an intellectual perspective in a different and clear way, which is a really important, I think, first starting step, is how to kind of categorize and think about the natural laws. But you also see them written a lot in success principle books, right? Like The Science of Getting Rich and Think and Grow Rich, As a Man Thinketh. Like all those books are also heavily encapsulated with natural law teachings.
The way that I look at it, the natural laws have been popularized as success principles. I was also looking at them in many different ways, but not in the success principle ways until maybe, I don't know, 12 years ago or something. But yeah, they've kind of been popularized as success principles, and they're organized kind of cool. So I was appreciating what you were saying about Taoism, because it can be, the Tao is written kind of in a way that you have to contemplate it. And what exactly are they saying? What does that mean? It's not like step 1,
yeah, exactly,
do this, step 2. Whereas the way that the natural laws have been popularized are a little bit more step 1, step 2 accessible. But it's funny because tons of people have learned the natural laws, like millions and millions, but not everybody can kind of do it.
Yeah, not everybody can be successful. So maybe, since I think this is the first podcast where we're really talking about natural laws.
What?
Is that right?
I think so, okay. Which is nuts, because we literally weave it into everything that we do.
So can we just take for a moment, just for people who are new to this topic, just give us a really quick framework around what is a natural law? What are these things?
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah. So natural laws are the blueprint for creation. If you want to think about it like that. How does a tree become a tree? Because a tree just didn't appear there. It became a tree somehow. And if you watch and observe how a tree becomes a tree, you're actually observing it, how the natural laws function and work. And so it's really a blueprint for how something goes from being invisible to visible to real to tangible, from the immaterial to the material, then back to the immaterial again. That's actually a natural law called the law of perpetual transmutation of energy, that everything moves from a non-form to a form, back to a non-form again. How are things created? So that's really a blueprint, and that there are 3 basic parameters that would make a natural law a natural law. And so the first thing is that natural laws are omnipresent. It's that they're everywhere. There's nowhere they're not, as far as our understanding of omnipresence is. And the second trait of a natural law is that they're persistent and consistent. They act 24/7, constantly. They never change the way they act at all.
All the time.
And then the third trait is that they're non-judgmental. They really don't care about what you think about them. So gravity is kind of a good example of a natural law, the way a natural law operates, that number one, gravity is everywhere. There's nowhere gravity isn't. And then someone will say, but wait, there's no gravity in space, Brian. So that's not true. Well, the principle of gravity is everywhere. And one of the principles of gravity is that gravity changes based on the mass that's associated with. So gravity, the principle of gravity is universal. It's everywhere. But one of those things is that it's going to change based on the mass that it's associated with. Aha. So once gravity is associated with a singular mass, like Earth, let's say, it doesn't change. Like no matter where you are on Earth, gravity is going to act the same, whether you're in Russia or China or the US or Antarctica, wherever.
I'm not going to jump in the air and float away.
You're not going to float away any place. You're always going to come to the ground, and at the same rate and speed everywhere. And then the third thing is gravity really doesn't care what you think about it.
Doesn't care how your hair is today.
Doesn't care if you
doesn't care if you were kind of a jerk the day before.
Doesn't care if you're a good person or a bad person, or if you're smart or not smart, or if it doesn't matter about your weight or your height or your race, or your age or your gender. Gravity is going to affect everyone on the planet the same way.
That's so nice.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen with a lot of things.
Doesn't happen with anything else.
Anything else.
Yeah. That's why, a little sidebar, that's why I say that natural laws are the only things you can actually truly trust. They're the only things you can trust because you cannot manipulate them.
I don't trust you.
Yeah, I don't trust you completely either. But I do trust the natural laws.
Yeah, me too.
So anyway, so that's what makes the natural law a natural law.
Perfect. My favorite part of that is the non-judgmental thing, because I don't know about you, Brian, me, my friends, our clients, our students, and judgment is a big thing that comes up for people. Judgment's a huge, we judge ourselves, we judge other people. Like judgment is
we judge the natural laws.
We do. Judging your natural laws, it's the water we're swimming in. And it's a learning curve to be able to really not just intellectually get the idea of a natural law and non-judgment, but to be a person who acts like that, who is that, who is just like a part of how you operate, who you are. It's the thoughts that you think, and it's the words that you speak, and it's the actions you take, you know? Like there's a major difference there between just kind of like, where's my pencil? Like learning it and
writing it down.
Yeah.
And we have to also say, right, there are kind of like, it's like juggling in a lot of ways.
Do you juggle?
If you want to learn how to juggle.
Do you juggle? I
did for a while.
Did you?
And then I just stopped.
How many could you do?
Oh, just like three. Three tennis balls or something. 3 flaming chainsaws. I was able to juggle.
Yeah. How long could you juggle 3 balls for? I've never seen this.
Oh, it was way back when. Not very long. But Oliver can juggle.
He can.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our son can juggle. He can juggle 4 balls.
Yeah, he can juggle. He's pretty good.
Okay. Why are we talking about juggling?
And ride a unicycle. Anyway, so juggling, it's like juggling. So you could sit down and read about juggling, and you could watch other people juggle, and you could intellectually know everything there is to know about juggling. But until you actually pick up the bowling pins and try to juggle them, you don't know anything. And then so you have all the theory and all that stuff down. And then once you start practicing juggling and you drop them, you pick them back up, blah, 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 you get it into your body then. Now you have actually embodied the process of juggling. And that process then now is in your subconscious mind.
Yeah, there's so many cool things to say about that. I mean, all of us have had these experiences. If it's not juggling, it's something else. It reminds me of learning to ride a bike.
Yeah.
Or even swim. Like you can tell a kid how to ride a bike. You can talk about it, but then you put them on the bike and they got the wobbles and they're not sure if they trust it and they fall down or whatever, or they get it. But it's that repetition of getting it in their body that, like you said, puts it in the subconscious mind, because pop quiz, everybody. Your subconscious mind, what is it? Yes. Congratulations. It's your body. So, you know, our learning, our actual integration does have to have something to do with our body. Even if we're not learning how to do a physical thing like juggling or riding a bike, everything that we do involves our body, whether I'm having a conversation with you, you know, or I'm handling my money, or I'm doing things in my business. We don't leave our bodies at home. Some days my body wishes that it was still snugly in bed, like it's winter here and we're hibernating, but you know, it's got to wake up. It's got to come with every day.
So we're kind of actually giving you the secret right now to how to make the natural laws successful in your own life. Is you really have to learn how to embody them, not just intellectually read about them and study about them. How do you actually get them in your body? But the thing is, they're already there, right? They're already in your body, because we are natural creatures and beings. So the natural laws are actually already operating in our body.
That's such good news.
Yeah. So it's not like we have to
find them, hunt them, drag them in.
Yeah, they're already there. It's just a matter of learning how to now pay attention to them and work with them in your body and in your physiology.
It's almost like unlearning stuff. Actually, Brian, I have a little bit of a confession to make. I don't really love the word embody. I think it's tossed around like authenticity, you know, or other words that we don't really like take a second and think about. The word embody, I think, is kind of tossed around. And I also think that when we say embody, a lot of times we think we're talking about the body, which probably because the body mind split in the way that we think about the body anyway. The word embody, a lot of times I think, has this connotation with the body, not the integrative way that at least we experience embodiment, which is really this integrated, I keep going like this with my fingers, like this integrated way of being in the world. It is body, mind, emotion, spirit. It's the whole thing. At least that's how I conceptualize being embodied. I mean, how do you think about it?
Yeah, I would agree. For me, there's definitely that aspect of experientiality with it. So not just embodied in my physical body, but also embodied in my emotional body and my intellectual body, but also kind of my off surface of my body, kind of like my exteroceptive sensors, also as a way that I would think about embodying something also in my field. You think about that, right? In my energetic field, and there is science to support that, yes, we all have an energetic field. We all actually are an energetic field. We can talk about that in some other podcast.
I was going to say, we should
but
maybe invite your friend Science to come talk about that, because I'll bet there's a lot of science.
Oh, that's actually a really good idea. Maybe we'll invite Art and Science back to talk about the art and science of energy.
Ooh, that sounds fun. I'll bet they would just think that was really cool.
I might like that. All right,
so the secret to successfully navigating the natural laws in your life is about embodying them. So let's just take a basic example, like the law of polarity, let's say. So that's a pretty, I think, popular one that people work with. I think it's rooted in the whole idea of Tai Chi. So if you look at the Tai Chi symbol, the yin yang,
it's a yin yang, right? Half of that symbol is black, half is white. It's like kind of they're swirling around one another. And also there's a seed of the opposite in either one. So there's a little seed of yin inside the yang, and there's a little seed of yang inside of the yin. So it's perfectly balanced. The law of polarity.
It's just like us.
Yeah,
we're perfectly balanced. We're like
balanced as well.
Yin yang ourselves. Yeah, another way to conceptualize the law of polarity is a quarter. There's a front and a back. There's a back and a front, and you can see the front, but you can't see the back at the same time. But there is one, two sides, up and down. It's created as a whole. And I think I love the idea of the quarter in terms of the law of polarity, because it accounts for the fact that sometimes we just can't see something, but we know it's there. It's there. So you were going to talk about embodying the law of polarity.
Yeah, right. I mean, and that's a great example. The quarter is a really wonderful example for this, because the law of polarity states that everything is created as a whole. So everything in the universe is created as a whole. If you look out in nature, you see whole trees. You don't see half trees growing. And even if the tree's been split in half by an axe or a lightning or something, and it's still growing, you still have a whole half a tree there. It still has a front and a back, a top and a bottom, a left and a right, and inside and an outside. And that's what makes it whole. So the law of polarity says that everything's created as a whole, and everything actually stays whole. However, our frontal lobes, our intellect, the higher capacities we have as humans, are able to perceive things in fractions.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
About the law of polarity. So you gave the example of there's never half a tree kind of thing. Even if there's half a tree, it's always a whole half.
Yeah.
I think of the law of polarity in relationships. Sometimes it's like, okay, I get it with the tree example, but what about like a example where it can't kind of touch and feel the tree kind of thing? You ever have, so we have a blended family and we have 3 kids. You ever have one of the kids come tell you something and it's only part of the story?
Yeah.
And you make an assumption based on whatever information that they gave you. But then when you go talk to the other kid who was a part of it, there's a different perspective. There's a different side. There's more information. And all of a sudden we start to see the whole picture.
Yeah. And great example, Ani, because when you get half of the story, how do you feel typically?
Angry,
right?
Or
angry,
like
upset, charged. There's some type of charge around it. And then you march to the other kid and you're like, tell me what, and they tell you their part, and you're like, oh. And it's interesting because the more knowledge that we have about the whole story, the more balanced we typically feel within ourselves.
Right. So it's interesting because we get more information and that changes how we feel in our physiology.
And it's a natural progression.
Absolutely.
And, again, probably another great next podcast we could talk about is the whole idea of forgiveness. When we talk about doing forgiveness practice with someone, a big part of that is actually having an understanding of the whole. And that if we are holding on to anger, resentment, even grief and those types of things, typically that's a sign that our mind is polarized.
Right. So we can, in order to embody the laws as an example, we can get more intellectual information that helps us to put more pieces around the story so we understand the narrative. Also, we have the feelings that we feel in our bodies, and we actually have choice in large part around how we're working with our nervous system and our nervous system pathways to choose how we feel. And so we can feel polarized in our physiology, but then we can also create choice in our physiology. And in those ways, we're coming into alignment, body, emotions, mind, spirit's kind of already whole, right? Yeah. So to put all of those, to me, it feels like click, 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 click into place to really become the laws.
Yeah. And so again, another really great point, Ani. So one of the tools, somatic tools that we use to embody the law of polarity is cross-mapping. So think about this for a second. So you've got this situation, which you're talking about. You receive some information and it charges you. And so as soon as you feel charged, now, hopefully you become aware that if you're charged, you don't have the whole story. Because if you had the whole story, you wouldn't feel charged around it. Yeah. But let's say, for instance, that maybe it's difficult or even impossible for you to actually get the rest of the story.
That happens.
Let's say the person who might have the rest of the story has passed on.
Or they can't articulate it, or they're not there, or
they've moved away. Like you just can't access them.
Yeah.
And so it leaves us in this questioning state of wondering why. And we're kind of, if I just could talk to them and get the information, then I'd have more peace. But that's not going to happen. So at that rate, at that point, rather, our intellectual information gathering systems have kind of failed us, or not failed us, but we can't go any farther with it. But we still feel really unsettled internally. Well, then what do we do about it? If we have a somatic tool that actually balances the law of polarity within ourselves and such that we feel balanced within ourselves, what's interesting that happens lots of times, Ani, is that as soon as someone does cross-mapping and balances the law of polarity within themselves, the answer comes to them. From some way, someplace, somewhere. Yeah. Science and art will talk about that, about how information is, contained and transmitted and all those kinds of things. But the information is already there. And so when someone balances their physiology, then the answer comes spontaneously rather than trying to chase it intellectually so that you feel balanced.
Right. Which explains also this idea of change your thoughts to change your life. But a lot of people say they have a tough time with that.
Yeah.
But once they start to balance their physiology and include their physiology into the conversation of changing your thoughts to change your life, you can really embody that idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're specifically, again, embodying the natural laws.
Yeah.
So the natural laws like law of polarity, law of relativity, law of rhythm. Go ahead, you were going to say something.
Law of gender is one of my favorites to watch people embody because geez, man, we live in a society where we're told, do it like this, do it like that, do it like this, do it like that. And as a female identified person, I hear like hustle, hustle, hustle and go, go, go and achieve, achieve, achieve. But then I also hear all the do it the feminine way and flow and have fun and manifest. And it gets, oh God, Brian, it gets like really confusing to try to ping pong based on that information. Whereas when I embody the natural laws, I am just naturally using my more masculine energy or my more feminine energy when it's appropriate and balancing both of those things with myself. So that's the law that came to me as you were talking about that, we could talk about all of the different laws and, how it goes, but that's one of the ones that came to me. I think one of the most frustrating things I hear from our clients, and it happens to me occasionally too, is this idea that out there's all of this information and like, do this, do that, and should I and shouldn't I? And when you embody the laws, you can be more decisive about which information is relevant to you at that time that you want to take and what strategies and stuff like that. You don't get so ping pong about, whatever somebody else said that maybe I should do, or maybe I should, like, oh my God, it's maddening. You said a word that really resonated with me as you were talking about the laws that I think I really feel I'm interested to know for you as well. And that I think our clients and students are really going for. That's the peace.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's what it feels like to me. A sense of peace really feels like a sense of being in flow, being in trust. And when we plant a seed, if we nurture that seed in a way that supports its growth, it will grow. It's not like we have to force it to grow and change. We don't have to force it to be created. We just have to nurture its environment in such a way where it thrives, and it will do what it's planned and destined to do.
Right.
And that's kind of, again, being in alignment with the natural laws. And, we love kind of, with all of our programs, talking about quantum physics and the natural laws, talking about the science behind the natural laws,
the spiritual nature of the laws, the practical aspects of the laws.
Yeah, these are all really, really important things to consider. So if the whole idea of being in alignment, living in accordance with the natural laws of the universe, to have more peace, to have more fluid creation in your life, then the secret to that is whoever you're working with, learning with, the natural laws, practicing with, then what aspect of that practice or that learning has to do with embodying the laws, actually bringing them into our physical functioning, into our physiology in such a way where it becomes a part of who we are on a daily basis. And we'll know that that's occurring because we will start living with a greater sense of peace and ease and trust and flow that just happens to be our default state rather than the one we're always trying to find or always trying to get back to.
Grasp,
it just becomes the natural state because we're in line with living the way that nature lives.
Yeah. So all of our certification programs have aspects of the natural laws in them. When you study our Somatic Coach training program, you're going to learn to embody the natural laws and you will become them. And then you'll be able to help other people to do that. People want to know, like, how do I get started? How can I just start? How can I know more? Because they ask us this all the time. So because people ask us this all the time, we created the Simple Guide to the Natural Laws. It's an on-demand course on the Somatic Coaching Academy website. So if this is fun and you're like, I just want to dive in, I just want to know a little bit more, take the first step, go to the website, go under programs, and you'll see the Simple Guide to the Natural Laws. Like I said, it's on-demand course. So as soon as you purchase it, you have it in your learning vault and you can start learning about the natural laws too. Today, right now. It's such a fun conversation. I look forward to talking more about the natural laws. But for today, that's it for this episode. So have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to this episode. We hope that this conversation will help you improve your practice and change the way you think about your work, your clients, and yourself. Continue your exploration of trauma-sensitive somatic coaching by listening to more podcast episodes at somaticcoachingacademy.com. You could be the trusted guide that people turn to help them with their most challenging situations and to reach their most precious goals. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.